Happy Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I was asked by a sweet friend of mine, Marissa Walker, to talk about my breast cancer journey. Back in 2011, I was vacationing with my family in Florida, enjoying the ocean, as you guys all know, down in Miami, and came home from our trip with my young family. My youngest, Blake, was 4 years old at the time. Izzy was 6 years old, and Alex was 15. I was a stay-at-home mom and worked at a local restaurant here in Connecticut on Friday nights. On this Friday night in April, it was actually April 28th, they were selling pink breast cancer awareness bracelets for a local upcoming walk to support breast cancer in our area. So I grabbed a bracelet, bought it, put it on my wrist, waitressed the rest of the night, came home, and when I came home, I remembered from having the bracelet on my wrist that I should do a self-exam. And while doing a self-exam, I found that I found a lump in my left breast. It was a pretty good size. It kind of scared me. At 35 years old, I am not eligible at that time for mammograms. My doctor would just do a self-exam for me when I would go in for my appointment, which my yearly exam was it was about 6 months prior to when I found this mass. And it was pretty big, definitely scary. So the next morning I called my primary care doctor and set up an appointment, and she got me in the next day, and she definitely had concerns about what she felt as well. There's things you can look for when you raise your arm. If the mass has a little dimple under it, then that's definitely signs that there's a mass there. She could feel it. By then it was already black and blue because I had pushed and prodded on it so much, trying to figure out whether it was a mass or just, who knows. And so I was bruised at that point. By the time I saw my doctor. A couple days later, I was lined up at the local hospital for a mammogram and an ultrasound. My sisters were with me, along with my sister-in-law, and here we were feeling, the doctor brought me in for the mammogram, sent me back out to the lobby, brought me back in for the mammogram, did more imaging, and then had me go back out to the lobby, and then they brought me in for the ultrasound. And then when they brought me in for the ultrasound, they found I was in there with one person, and then all of a sudden 3 people came in for the ultrasound, and they were all very quiet and just looking, and I'm just laying on the, bed very comfortably watching them. I pretty much knew that I had breast cancer within myself. I had already, felt as if what I was dealing with was breast cancer. And so the nurses left and they asked if I had anyone with me. And so I said, oh yeah, my sisters are out in the lobby. So she went out and got my sisters, my oldest sister, Amy, and my youngest sister, Laura, and my sister-in-law, Stephanie. And they come in and they're all standing around me. And this doctor comes in and he is talking to me, looking at me. And I'm pretty calm laying there on the hospital, on the bed. And he's telling me that 99.9% positive he is that I have breast cancer. And he said that if the results come back that you do not have breast cancer, you need to go for more imaging because we feel as if it is breast cancer. And so I said, okay, and I'm talking to him, and he looks up at my sisters, and my little sister Laura is standing by my head, and my sister-in-law Stephanie is on by my legs, and I could feel their tears dripping on me. My older sister Amy was over in the corner, and her daughter has had leukemia at the age of 2. So she has a little bit of what we call PTSD in her world going on here. So all 3 of them are hysterically crying, and I am okay. I'm just looking at him saying, all right, what do we need to do? I'm going to beat this. So we go into a separate room. I call my parents who live down in the Florida area and let them know the results of this. And my mother that night, got on an airplane, flew home. My father hopped in the car with the 2 dogs from Florida and came back to Connecticut. They're snowbirds. And we found ourselves going going back and forth to doctor's appointments. We ended up at Yale University on I would say probably the beginning of June 10th-ish. We ended up at Yale, and they did a lot of imaging. I had to have a biopsy done, which hurt a lot. They stick that needle in there and, get what they need to get. I had multiple ultrasounds done. During the ultrasounds, they did find that there was, I had a cancer, I guess they didn't have the size of it then. It ended up being a 3.2 mass. And they saw a lot of sprinkles of cancers in my left breast. So they brought me in, lots of testing done. I had pre-testing done. They found that I was ER positive, PR positive, and had HER2 negative, which was exciting if you had to find some good in it, that it was a curable cancer. And so I knew that I would be cured from this cancer. All along, I had this sense that I would be okay anyways, and just kept a super positive attitude, because I'm not going to wallow and, sit around and drown myself in my tears and my feelings. Anyways, so on June 24th, which was my daughter's 7th birthday, I went in for surgery. And I always say to her, she always says, you weren't around for my 7th birthday. I always say, on your 7th birthday, my life started over again, because I was cured and all the cancer was taken out of my body. So I had a 14-hour surgery. And my mom and my husband sat around Yale Hospital for that whole 14 hours, waiting patiently for everyone, for me to be finished. When I came out of the surgery, I had 6 drains on my breasts and my stomach. I ended up going with a procedure called the DEEP procedure. And what that is they do a tummy tuck, and I did a bilateral mastectomy, removed both my breasts, and they took the belly fat from my tummy tuck and stuffed my breasts with my own belly fat. It's safer. I can feel all the tissues. I don't have implants. So they filled my breasts with my own body fat. Well, first they removed everything, including my nipples, because I had ductal cancer, so I had to have everything removed. They removed everything, stitched me back up after 14 hours. The next 6 weeks were pretty painful. At first, my tummy tuck really hurt. It was a lot of pain. Then my tissue, all the new tissue they put in, had to reattach. And when it reattached, it was super painful. But I was alive. And in all honesty, that's what we're looking for in this. So we went on and, went back to the doctor. The pathology report, I have to read it because it showed that I had a 3.2 centimeter mass. That is the mass I originally felt underneath on the bottom side of my left breast. Then they had the small speckles all over inside the breast, which is why I had to have a double mastectomy, although I would have chosen that anyways. Then they found a 7 centimeter by 1.5 centimeter mass. It was half in a duct and half out, and no one saw it before the surgery. So I really had 3 different types of cancer inside my one breast at the age of 35. Crazy. And then during the surgery, they also have to check your lymph nodes, because that's where the cancer travels from your breast out into your body. I had already known prior to my surgery that there wasn't any metastasized cancer throughout my body. They did do an exam and we saw that. So it did start to go into my lymph nodes on my left side. So I had to have the sentinel lymph node removed plus 28 lymph nodes, which left me with lymphedema, a little chubby arm, and pain sometimes, but livable. I'm alive, right? So yeah, it was a crazy journey. Soon after, so I started chemo on July 26th, and I have to read also what my chemo treatment at that time was. So they gave me the chemo treatment called TAC, TAC. So it's Taxotere, Adriamycin, and Cytoxan. And those two drugs were very strong. Because I was so young, they wanted to attack this. And, you know, they had 10,000 side effects to these meds. And I just knew that I just had to get through these chemo appointments and get myself back up to being a mom and a wife and a daughter and a sister and a friend, and get myself this journey behind me. I have a friend now that's going through breast cancer, and I keep saying, you will be okay. It does get better, but it sucks when you're going through it. So, you know, I went through the weeks of chemo treatment. I'm very gracious that I was a stay-at-home mom at the time, and have a great support system. My town was incredible, including Marissa Walker, of course. And just the support was amazing. And I am forever, ever, ever grateful for the support that the community gave myself. On August 3rd, after my first treatment, I went to get my hair cut because I've always had big hair, which was kind of who I identified myself with. Like, this is who Becky is. I always have the big hair. And, you know, and I knew I was going to lose that hair. And oh gosh, how devastating that is. It was the thing that I was most scared about, was losing my hair. And so I went on August 3rd and had a prep. One of my best friends is my hairdresser. She gave me a beautiful cut. And on August 12th, we were at our vacation, our family lake house up in Maine. And as I'm on the boat, or, you know, hanging out with the kids, my hair is falling out. Even though it was short at the time, it was falling out by the handful. So we decided that it was time. And so we grabbed the clippers, and it, like I said before, the scariest moment. I just couldn't bear the thought of having no hair. And so our whole family, probably like 16 of us, all stood around as my husband and my children and my sister-in-law shaved the rest of the hair that was left. I almost had a reversed mohawk from brushing my hair after one shower. And I'll tell you, and I tell so many women this, that having my hair might have been the scariest thought, but once it was gone, I had this like superpower. I, you know, came out of all of this cancer and treatment and everything a stronger woman. I really did, because I knew I had kicked cancer's ass, and what more, like, that's pretty powerful. And so I often speak to women about their new diagnosis of cancer and help them through the journey, because it is scary, but it's curable. And I know we don't have a cure for cancer at this point, but we're getting there, and it's going to happen. And unfortunately, I'm a hospice social worker, so I see the negative sides of all of what cancer does bring. And it's scary. And I know we all lose family members. I've lost family members to cancer as well. But a lot of people do survive cancer, and it is curable. And so we just have to keep moving along and finding the cure. Thank you all for listening to my journey. If anyone has any questions, I'm always available to be reached out to. I do have a blog from back then that is always available. And it's Becky, B-E-C-K-Y, Beats, B-E-A-T-S, B-C, .blogspot.com. And that's my blog that talks through my entire journey. All right, and I wish you all well, and I'm praying for anyone who's battling cancer at this time. Blessings. Bye-bye.